Okay, so I wanted to go over a few questions that keep popping up with PCR. They're common questions that students have. So first off, a common one I get is that PCR products shorten after each round of PCR. That's not true. Let's just work through it for a little bit. Okay, let's say that we have a starting template AAC to GC. Okay, so obviously my other strand is going to be TTG CG CG with 5' there. Okay, now remember I don't have to write 5' and 3' because this is already going in the standard direction with 5' on the left. Now let's say that I have a primer that binds starting with this C. Well, starting with this C over here, okay? So my primer, 5' this way, goes GC ... As it extends, right, during the PCR, it's going to extend all the way to the end. So it's going to copy and make GTT, okay? On our other strand, let's say my primer starts here with this G, and it goes C, copies, and it's going to copy all the way until it falls off the end, okay? The polymerase just keeps going. It doesn't know when to stop, so it just goes as long as it can. All right? Now, in the subsequent, this is 2 bases shorter than this one. This is 2 bases shorter than this one, okay? Now, in the next round of PCR, when using the original template as a template again, I'm going to get the exact same thing. This is going to start with the GC and continue, right? So it cut off this and anything upstream of that. And similarly here, this one started with that C and will cut off anything upstream, okay? But what happens when I use these as a template? So when I'm using that newly synthesized strand as my template, this time, right, what I'm going to get is I'll start here with this C ... and copy all the way until the polymerase falls off the end. Okay, so again, I cut off anything that's more upstream, more 5' of the primer. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to start where my primer starts at the GC ... and here. So again, I've cut off anything 5' of the primer. Okay, so again, we shortened by 2. You might think you will shorten by 2 every time. Not so. So what happens in the next round of PCR? Well, my pink products are going to make another product like this, right? So let's see what happens with my green products. Okay, my green products. Now I'm going to get, I forget which one. I'm going to get okay, they're going to make perfect copies because the primer binds right at the end, and then the polymerase copies everything else. And similarly, the primer binds right at the end, and the polymerase copies everything else. It's not going to shorten anymore. Once you have one primer bind, it cuts off everything more 5' of that, and then in the next round, the other primer binds and cuts off all the sequence that's more upstream of that. And once you start and end with where the primers bind, you're not going to shorten anymore.